Okay, hello and welcome to Bay 1. This is Trafalmaraxi on whatever the day happens to be today, the 1st of September 2016. And I'm doing a little bit of a different episode today. We are going to be covering... actually, is my camera even working? My camera is kind of working, and I don't have any of the lights on, so that really doesn't help for shit. Turn that one off. There we go, you can actually see me now. We're doing a little bit of a different episode today, so we're going to be just going over the latest release date for the Clans update, and also going to have a guest commenter in terms of their thoughts, feedback on Robocraft, state of the game, and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be Vortex05
Hello.
from Unit. Hi. Anyway, so first of all, let's go over the game notice things, and yeah, this is so professional. I do this amazingly well, and I've already lost the link, so let's go back there. Here we go. Okay, so the latest updates from FreeJam are that the RoboClans update will be coming on September 6th, so that's next Tuesday for anyone, or next Tuesday, Tuesday the 6th of September. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious when that is. Um, but yeah, so next week, if you're watching this when, within a few days of it being broadcast. For all the information on that, that's already been discussed, to be honest. I gave that in my last week's episode where I went over all of the clan updates and stuff like that. There's no real changes onto any of the information being provided. Apparently, it went well on the PTS or the public test server that they did last Friday. Other than fixing a few bugs and things that just weren't quite ready for launch. So, yep, next Tuesday for that, and we'll see how that is. Hopefully I should be able to do a stream about that when it launches, although I will not be able to stream next Thursday because I'm actually going to be travelling. Yeah, lots of travelling recently, which has severely disrupted the stream schedule. But anyway, so on to the next part of this, which is really just getting Vortex's thoughts, feedback, and everything on Robocraft, because it's got a little bit of an interesting story in that he got back into playing it somewhat recently and then decided to uninstall it. So I'm actually curious why. Yeah, really, why? What was the
Before
issue?
we do that, like, did I make a mistake? Is it just UI stuff in the what is it? Looks like Clans Alpha is what they're calling the next update.
Yeah, something like that.
It's mostly just UI stuff,
Yep,
and they're gonna support clans. Are they gonna
yep.
support clans? All right, all right.
Why?
Are we gonna get into it?
What do you mean?
Um, okay, so it wasn't immediately obvious. The first thing that I found kind of interesting is when I logged back in after being on hiatus for a very long time, uh, they took away all my RP. They switched to the new system, but I swear I had like at least a million or so in essentially in banked progress. So not every single person in the game, I imagine, buys every single thing that they can find on the market immediately, right? If you're building at a lower rank level because you just don't have the time yet to build giant robots, you might actually be building. You might just have a lot of saved up, so for future upgrades and stuff like that. And so the first thing I noticed was that,
What's happening there?
oh, I can't buy all these nice new toys to try out, even though I kind of remembered that I had a lot of stuff in reserve. Um, yeah, so that's the first thing. What happened to my economy? What happened to my bank accounts? Um, and then the next thing is what GeeleiiA, that played with us, actually kind of pointed out. But not just what he pointed out. It was obviously the Protoseeker, but also the lock-on missile launcher that I encountered in the game.
The battle for
I
thirst is
don't
fierce
know
and
if
brutal.
they feel that that is done the way they have it right now, but it is probably basically the kind of worst implementation of what a lock-on missile launcher could be.
A player has disconnected.
Yeah?
Because
You'll respawn
because it has the same problem with the other games where the missile launch is really annoying in that you cannot avoid it. Period. Full stop.
You kind of can. Some of it is, okay, you get the lock on for the actual missile launcher, if you're talking about that, not the PSK. You've got a short window in which to dodge and try and get behind cover, in which case you can break lock. But otherwise, most bots can't dodge.
Once it's released, it does the same thing as like missile launchers and something like PlanetSide does, where they can make a full well, it works a little bit differently because this missile launcher does a full 360 around you for about like 5 turns before it finally gives up, I guess. But it's kind of ridiculous to see the missile kind of miss you and then just kind of endlessly circle you like a black fly until it finally smacks you in the back. I don't know, it's just, especially at the lower ranks, it's very frustrating to fight against. And I don't know if Robocraft itself has kind of a reputation for having Seal Clubber players, but it is kind of a term that I learned from this game exclusively, where people are talking about, you know, scenarios like that, and they're talking about Seal Clubbing, which is effectively, for I guess those that haven't actually heard the term, it's basically people that purposely build a bot with a very low CPU count with a legendary weapon on it, solely for the purpose of entering in noob matches, where the new players really don't have the equipment required that to actually basically design as a counter for that. Like, either the robot can't be durable enough because you have such a low CPU count, or you don't have like the utility modules, so you can't like blink away, which are all probably valid counters that FreeGem has thought of when they were designing it, but at the same time, in a new player match, they don't have access to that equipment yet.
And that's very much true. You get someone that literally, yeah, Seal Clubbing, although they've rebalanced a lot of the weapons and stuff like that, then yeah, I see that as an issue myself. I mean, I make a point that if I'm going to do that, I will not use those kinds of weapons because I feel it's just unfair. It's too easy to have that advantage. So yeah, I've definitely seen that, and I actually make a point of trying to build robots that use what the new players have access to and try and make them effective and put them on the store if I have the time to do that, because I mean, some of it is just learning to deal with it in gameplay, but you don't learn that gameplay until you've played at those higher levels.
Right, that's true. And in most games, it's important to note that you have to, if you have new players to the game, you have to let them actually be able to play the game and not get one-shotted before, because they don't learn anything from being one-shotted, right? It's not an experience thing. So you have that curve where they have to start learning that gameplay before you introduce them to the more top weapons that they have to be more diligent about. You know, immediately dodging and finding cover, or just... The other problem with this game is that you have to also learn how to build in this game.
Yep.
And if your bot is just getting disintegrated right away, it's not... Overall, it's not that I'm giving up on learning that aspect of the game. Is that it's sort of, I see it too frequently in the community for that to, like, in the games that I've been matched up, especially in the standard team deathmatch. It's much less evident in Battle Arena. I do notice Battle Arena matches are taking much longer to match you against.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
I think the reason for that is Battle Arena is just, there's just so much more going on, and you can kind of avoid those players just by default if they're really causing an issue for your robot.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually prefer the Battle Arena mode over any of the other modes. It's just, yeah, the queue times and the reward for play is not quite where it should be.
Yeah, Battle Arena gives you one extra robot part, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is Battle Arena a lot of times will drag on to be, you know, 2 to 3 times as long playtime wise before a victor is announced at the end of it. And,
and I felt, to be honest, the RP system used to actually reward you for what you did and for how well you played overall in a direct money correlation, whereas unfortunately with the loot crate system, it's a RNG reward. There's no consistency to what you actually get from that, other than okay, it might have a value, but even with that, you can lose out most of the time. It's weighted. So even then, you have to recycle that stuff, and you basically only get a quarter of what you earned, because you have to recycle it to actually get what you need.
Hey guys, I jumped in.
Hi, Sharp.
What's
So,
up? I was listening in, just waiting for time to come in.
okay, that's cool. So, what are your other annoyances? Let's put it that way.
Are you talking me or Joe?
No,
Or,
for
geez,
Vortex.
Oh, okay. So actually, since you mentioned that the RP system, that actually is a good point. In the past, when you had your RP system, you were just given kind of evaluating. You got this much RP, which is essentially credits, to spend on whatever you like. In this new system, it's all random number generator, and you feel like you're not quite getting the value if you don't take what they give you, which I do find kind of extremely frustrating because you know, I guess the goal, even Free Jam says the goal of it is to be super creative, and you can't really be super creative if that one thing that you're building everything around that you want, you can't really acquire, and it takes you. I don't know what is the devaluation, because I couldn't figure that out.
The recycle cost is you lose a quarter of what you earned, so you have to recycle whatever you get in, and then you'll get a quarter of that in terms of actual robots.
Okay. I see. I consider that a little bit significant. Like I would almost prefer a system where they can write it differently, so they can say, oh, you get 2 bonus items. But then I would prefer the other half of what they give you just to be in raw value, so that you can, you know, if you just need more blocks, you can go and get more blocks and whatever, right?
Yeah, and the sad thing is, in some ways, they were trying to echo like a World of Tanks or a War Thunder type model on that, and they kind of failed because they missed the whole. You need a consistent reward. You need that consistent. You need to know that a given action will earn you this amount. That's one of the things. That's why people gravitate towards certain play styles, and now those actions don't actually give you that bonus. It's just going to it will give you an overall score, which then decides, okay, you qualify for this crate, but there's not a direct, okay, you've earned this for doing that. There's no direct correlation. It's a lot more obscured.
Yeah, and the crates only adjust your chances, because I've definitely gotten really crap items from Plutonian crates, which is supposed to be, which is supposed to be better, right?
Yeah.
To chime in as this, if I can, on being a noob like this, when I got in and I was playing it, and then they have their dump system like they do, where they give you the prizes at the end. It's kind of stupid, because if I want to build something now, I gotta wait for all the pieces, and if I recycle, I don't get what I want. And I mean, as a novice player who doesn't have high robots and stuff, it makes it hard for me to get to that level and have stuff that I want and I want to play with, because now I have to really fight through the grind, and then it just gets boring, and you're getting beat up by all the people who have these high-tech weapons, and when you have pea shooters.
Right.
Yeah, so basically, it feels like they've added a barrier that just didn't need to exist.
Yeah, there's no...
Right, so consider the problem of, like, okay, lock-on missile launcher. I'm sure it's more than just me that's I don't have a counter to it yet, but if I see that, oh, everyone is building lock-on missile launchers and putting them on a helicopter type chassis that is super tiny, and then I can say, well, I'm going to go with the cheaper counter to that and probably go with flak. But the problem is I can't quite do that, because I'm basically waiting for my counter to arrive, rather than, okay, I'll just go with the cheaper counter to that, and I'll play in a different way where I don't need to actually acquire a legendary item, but I can deal with just having a rare item. Yeah, I'm not given that option, essentially, to defend myself.
Well, like when we were playing, and I mean, granted, I haven't played much as you guys have before, but when I got in, as like I said, a noob coming into it, I had no idea what was going on, and I was getting my ass kicked, and that's really hard when you're trying to be open to a game and play it and know what it's about, when you can't even actually play it because you're getting wrecked by these guys who have the lock-ons that are destroying you, annihilating you, and you only have, like I said, your little pea shooter. Like, how is that fair?
Were you getting killed by the lock-ons? I can't remember.
Well, it was like the rail guns too. Like they
Uh,
were owning me. Like there was, and there, like you said, there's no counter. Like there's no like, um, I couldn't afford like a EMP or like a radar that would stop that stuff, or like a jammer or something. And it's like, okay, so I just pretty much bend over and say, okay, go at it, boys. I'll just wait here until I get enough parts to build something.
Yeah, and
You know?
some of the things, especially with rails, etc., they used to be a lot more technical savvy in terms of how you build robots. Because when you had a pilot seat in the game, you literally had to focus. You had to protect that pilot seat. You were good until you lost that. Whereas now they changed it to you lose 75% of your robot, you're dead, or the hit points of your robot. And that, I mean, you can respawn now, which means that the games aren't quite over as quickly as they were, but it's still there.
I mean, that is definitely another layer that I miss when coming back to this. First of all, I mean, I did leave after they just removed the pilot seat initially, and the what I really liked about the pilot seat, it's actually a penalty. There's no benefit in having a pilot seat to you as a player, but it's actually a penalty because it forces you to have a really kind of weak thing that you have to consider and think about. And you also have to build your robot in such a way that your connections are durable and strong. And then it gets really, really technical in the building, right? You have to make sure that you have damage channeling to channel things away. You can't just put a bunch of square blocks because that means that the damage won't channel properly. You also sometimes can play tricks with your opponents because you can put your pilot seat in a really odd spot that they wouldn't really expect it to be. And that, that would fool people like Rails that will aim for, they'll guess that your pilot's usually center of mass or something like that. But then you take a risk in doing that because you could be disconnected much sooner than you'd expect. Put your pilot's in an odd place. Yeah, I really do miss the pilot seat. I think that the pilot seat did add a lot to it, even though it was kind of difficult to build around it, but that's what made it fun, it's the difficulty of building.
Yeah, you actually had something that was pretty intuitive in the... Okay, I guess part of the issue, it wasn't explained clear enough that you lose your pilot seat, you're dead. You don't, not your pilot seat, you lose the blocks that actually connect to your pilot seat, you're dead. So people didn't really understand the importance of that. So then they would get, the one-shot rail kills, which you don't really get that so much under the new system because, it's very rare for a railgun to literally be able to take out the entire robot in one shot, but... so it kind of has stopped that, but unfortunately it also means in many ways robots are actually a lot easier to cripple now because you're not having to build so many layers of redundancy into them. But sorry.
Yeah, I thought with the pilot seat, the robots were easier to cripple because the game struggled to figure out with the current build that you had, if you got crippled, kind of how to distribute the movement keys that you've given it. The AI didn't seem to be able to do it as well. Because if you purposely built a robot that was kind of a little bit asymmetric, then you lose a few things and it doesn't really know that it should slow down the thrusters on the left or whatever to basically not have you spin out like crazy. I don't know if that's changed too much. I haven't really noticed that. It seems like to me it seems like overall it's probably about the same. I do notice that before when you had like hover, if you got damage in a weird way, you can still may have a layer hover, but then it would like cause you to flip all the time. Whereas I don't seem to encounter that as much anymore. I don't know if that's the engine change or
they've overhauled the physics to actually deal with a lot of those issues, so they just don't apply anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was also like a fun part of the old game because you didn't regenerate, so it led to this kind of side effect of you don't have to actually kill a person, like destroy someone's bot, for it to count. So you're not spending, because of the especially in Battle Arena, the fighting is very different now. You basically have to keep following a dude if he gets almost completely disconnected. You can't just take the approach where oh, I've basically disconnected enough of your robot for your robot to be viable and useful. I can just leave you now because you're not contributing to your team.
Yeah.
But I can just let you like, you know, try to fly yourself into a corner or something like that, or you know, I can tell that you're crippled essentially, and you have no weapons, so you're no danger to the team. I'm gonna go do something instead of chasing a person constantly because even though they're crippled, they have a really tiny thing that's really difficult to hit, and it's just zooming around.
Yeah, and I mean, it used to be a thing. There was kind of almost a gentleman's, in certain certain games where you would purposely cripple someone and move on, and it was just a matter of disabling their team as fast as possible so that you could actually do what you needed to do. Now, if they had a healer that was coming around to try and heal them, then that was something else, but. Yeah, it's not like there's a self-repair module or something like that that you're aiming for to take off. I mean, I don't mind the repair thing, but I prefer if it was part of some form of module or ability you could try and cripple to stop that from happening. Because I don't know, I prefer that kind of option as opposed to the native.
I mean, I really like the old repair system that was in the battle arena, where you do get a repair as long as you have a fusion shield and you can get underneath it. You would take that repair.
Mm.
So you would. I mean, it's kind of weird that I would enjoy that aspect, but if your robot's really crippled, kind of being able to like drag your crippled robot back into the fusion shield to take that repair, so you can keep your, you can keep all your overclock, and I don't know, it's kind of an interesting gameplay aspect. So it forces you to build your robot that's at least durable enough to withstand that, and to still be viable enough to drag it back. Kind of
Yeah.
like limp home mode, build limp home mode, I guess, into your bot. I mean, with the repair system, I did put my nano repair on my robot, but I find that it completely devalues it because people aren't so concerned about, oh look, you're a medic, you're coming around to repair me, I'm gonna try to make it easier for you to repair me. They'll just like run away from you because
Yeah, there's no need for it to actually be a medic anymore. I mean, the usefulness of that has been deprecated a lot, or depreciated, or however you want to say. It depends on which country you're in.
because I find that in the 10 seconds when you actually start taking on repair, you actually repair almost at a much quicker rate than what another player can repair you with a nano. Or its equivalent, right? Because you can repair, not worry about whether they're catching up to you or not, right? If they don't have a fast medic bot.
Yeah.
Your middle fusion tower is under attack.
Sorry, I'm gonna let Sharp talk. So
Huh?
Sharp. So a little bit of background. Sharp has played it even less so than me, and I
Total
think
noob.
I think Drafel's played it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play it a bit, and I don't. I think I got. I'm pretty sure that initially when I took a hiatus on it, it was when they got rid of. You're right. It is actually when they got rid of the robot. Sorry, the pilot seat, and I think it was because it actually did decrease the complexity of building in general, and it sort of took away that part of the interest. So the game went from being, you know, have a clever idea, build with that concept, then go battle, and then tweak a few times before you actually have something viable. I find that I can build a viable bot pretty quickly now, but then I don't find because you're not iterating and you're not fixing your design as much, I don't find that part as satisfying. It just feels more like a deathmatch, less like building is a very big part of the focus.
Yeah, I mean, it has lowered the barrier of entry, and in terms of simplifying the game for a lot of people, I understand that. I understand why that's needed. I mean, the thing that has really, and I've still not been able to get over it, and I think anyone that watches my streams can probably tell, is the whole loot crate system for myself. It's that, yeah. I mean, I don't really have a reason to play now. And it kind of, other than, you know, I still want to keep people informed. I used to enjoy doing the construction videos,
well,
but because of, yeah.
Let's look into that. Like, let's look into that. Is there anything they can do to fix the loot crate system that you think would be palatable?
Plutonium reactor is under attack. Spotted.
I was kind of debating with the idea like maybe the loot crate system can be reserved to only, you know, one of the item. You still get essentially RP for everything, but then you get a loot crate, which is a chance to get like kind of an item that normally would be worth a lot more.
But see, here's my thing. I'm gonna step in. I would rather see loot crates at matches and stuff when you're playing against it, and you get it for skill that you have. And like maybe you get like the noob award, where like it's your first time and you're in this first level, so you get some awesome pieces of stuff, so you can go up against people. Or maybe you get the scrap. Like you just get a certain amount of scrap. Like you get
that's
500
true.
scrap. Or maybe they need like almost like Battlefield, where the more teamwork you do, the more you actually get. It doesn't matter about kills and stuff.
You're saying, what if they turned what like the generic loot crate they have now, and they turn it into kind of a theme loot crate, so like it's basically equivalent to like getting achievements during a match, right? So you would get, if, for example, you would get the rank does not matter match when you manage to kill someone of
higher
what
value.
would be a higher tier than you,
Yeah, like that makes more sense, and that's more satisfying because now you have the players engaged and they're trying to get those awards. Where if you just give them to them in the beginning, they're like, oh cool, hooray, I don't have to get on, I just get on every day, and then eventually I have enough and I'll sell it and I'll go buy some epic pieces that I need or something.
Or maybe in Battle Arena, let's say you get you manage to capture 3 was it, are they called fusion reactors? I can't remember the crystals. So
Fusion towers.
Okay, you capture like maybe 3 fusion towers without actually dying, right? You get like kind of a chain capture.
Yeah, like maybe they call you the Great Collector or something like that. I don't know. Like just do something cool like that, and then maybe you get like an energy weapon bonus, or maybe they have bonus systems or something where it doesn't take away from the gameplay and it still allows you to build your robots how you want to. But everybody has a chance at it, where it's not just like, oh, here you go, we're just giving this stuff to you. You've actually earned that, you know?
Well, I mean, the current system in the game, you still do have to earn your reward tier, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would prefer if it was a little bit more specific or tailored towards the type of actions you're performing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard because you can't really do there's not actions that would really contribute directly against a type of piece or anything like that, but I don't know. It's even if there was the ability where you could, maybe choose a theme that you're looking for from your crate. Say that you would prefer to receive this type of weapon, or you're looking more for armor, or you're looking more for that, and then give you a choice of reward instead of this is what you got. Maybe something like that would be better. I don't know. It feels like it's just too randomized. If they change it so that, okay, each crate gives you 2 items and you just get to choose which one you want, I'd prefer that, to be honest. That would be more palatable for me.
Yeah.
Because that way it gives you the illusion of choice.
Yeah, and when you're trying to build a robot, if it's taking you forever to get your parts, it sucks. Like me, I'm like, oh man, I could do this, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm running out of blocks, but I really need these better guns, so I gotta sell this, and I'm just playing with it. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I need this weapon to survive, so I'm gonna go for the weapons first, and then later I'll be like, alright, probably should put this on the robot, but now I've got killed a million times, I'm bored, and I'm like, okay, I'm just quitting.
I guess the other thing is that, a while back when they did the big revamp, they kind of talked about, and they put an example of, like, they're trying to prevent robots that are optimized that look like this, and they showed kind of a gun bed design, right, because the current rule set was basically geared towards that, but, I mean, overall, I don't really feel like they completely succeeded, because I do see a few really standard builds appear over and over again, and it's just a side effect that whenever you build a game with like with the building systems, they are going to be optimized designs, and you just kind of have to accept that there's going to be optimized designs. And I think that the way to it limits, like, it's much easier to build an optimized design for, let's say, the team deathmatch than it is for battle arena, and that's my opinion on it. And I think that's the reason for that is just because you have to deal with a lot more parameters in battle arena than you do for team deathmatch, where you just have to make sure you don't die. And you know, you don't really have to make sure your robot goes fast if you don't need that aspect, right? Whereas in battle arena, not dying and being able to dish out damage really isn't the only thing they have to worry about. You also have to worry that, can I reach destinations fast enough, right? Because if they're starting to capture stuff really far away from me, I need to make sure that we get those towers back. And you know, if you want to heal other people, like, is that important to you? Well, this is back when you couldn't auto heal people, but in battle arena, you would want to build a heal bot too, because you're like, well, I want to be useful to whoever might be down, that kind of thing.
But maybe we have a different perspective of what people really want, because we've all played together and we've worked as a team, and don't even really have to talk much anymore to know what everybody's gonna do, and it works well for us. But maybe people want to be the single player.
But I think that's great.
person.
I think that they, like, Free Jam should tailor for that too. But because you have all these different kind of things, if you choose to go the generalist route, you're giving up on potency of being really well suited for one route. And if you go for the one route, then you're really potent and really good at that one thing. But you know, the counter for that is the team could just choose to use tactics like just go around that thing that you're good at and basically make that unviable. And that's why it's a team game, because if you're good at that one thing, you're reliant on your team to, you know, help you account for the fact that you don't have all the other aspects built out.
And hi, GeeleiiA and Ninnaman and Heroku Forbes, welcome to the chat. So,
Hi.
so yeah, you're right. So, all in all, for Vortex, what was the final thing that led you really to uninstall the game?
What was the final thing that we done? Tell you. I think more so probably was the crates, to be honest. I mean, I have to agree with you on that. I wasn't super annoyed so much with the Lockdown Missile Launcher that I was like, oh, this is super cheap. What I was more annoyed with is that I had these ideas about what I might be able to build to counter them, but then I went to the price cost and I looked at how much I needed to recycle, and then I started grinding for it, and then I realized that I had no agency in terms of being able to, you know, successfully get the things that you need to build for it. You're literally at the random number generator gods, you know, at their mercy for them to give you that stuff. And if you get it, great. But if you don't get it, you can't do anything to improve, right? In that case, because you're actually restricted from actually having the tools you need.
Which is directly counter to the whole idea of where Free Jam's trying to position Robocraft as a esport type game or a skill-based game.
If it's an esport game, we know for sure that all esports game, every player is on equal footing.
Yeah.
As in, no one has an advantage over another person. But
because of RNG, you literally have an advantage. So it's one of those things where if you were to do a tournament where everyone starts out at 0 and, you know, it's whoever gets the highest level over the course of X matches or something like that, the random reward that you're going to get at the end of each match, if someone gets one of the super elite weapons or something like that, they're going to have a huge dominating effect. And that's one of the things that I see. It depends on how they want to run a tournament system, but that's the kind of thing that I would find interesting for Robocraft, would be running that kind of tournament, because it's what is it? It's more like if anyone's ever played Magic the Gathering or anything like that and done a non-constructed tournament, one of the, I can't remember what they're called, draft tournament. It's a draft format, and those are actually interesting because you're kind of forced to work with what you're given. But unfortunately, the side of that is that if there isn't an equality of award, yeah, even starting out, then you're going to have someone get a huge advantage just because of RNG. Maybe I'm not making that distinction well enough, but
Are you giving a shout out to PAX for the tournaments going on for
Your top
Magic?
fusion tower is under attack.
no, I'm not actually.
Your bottom fusion tower is under attack.
But no, I mean like something like that would be kind of cool. But I don't know what esport would really
Your top
be able to
fusion tower
happen
is under
with
attack.
a building game because unless they give every player a set of blocks and like say this is your limitation, here you go, build something, and good luck.
Spotted.
Well, I mean, in reality, with Robocraft, the way an esport would have to work, you would literally be
Your bottom
you could only have people that are max level and have everything unlocked, because that's the only
True.
fair playing field that you've got at that point.
That's true.
And then most of the time,
Or
people will be using robots from the robot factory anyway, so you're not even, you just get, you know that, you know, if you've been playing at the high levels, what people are going to be using.
So wait, hold on. So their esport format is they're not going to let them build at all, and they're just going to force them to basically pick.
I don't know,
robots.
it hasn't been really defined,
Ah.
but that's the way they've been trying to push the game in many ways.
Because in many games, in many ways, if that's the way that they want to do the esport format, that's basically completely different from the standard game. Because I mean, if anything, the what is it called, the hook to this game is that you do get that kind of build part into that cycle, right? And I would say the build part is worth at least like half of the game essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So if you take that away and you're watching people like use pre-built blocks on esports, you can do a lot of things that essentially the normal game doesn't have, because normal game you're not incentivized to build a bot with a weakness. But if they're building esports bot and they're limiting to a certain bot, they'll build all the bots with a a weakness that can be exploited by the players of esport, which would be interesting to watch. But it's sort of complete opposite of how the real game works. The real game, you don't build a weakness and you try your best to build it out. It's a compromise that you're going to have to take.
Well, I mean, one of the things, surprisingly, I don't really watch that many esports or anything like that, but one of the things I watch occasionally is the Ark Survival Evolved tournaments, and it's the Survival of Vitis thing. And that's somewhat interesting because people try to use the same kind of ideas, but you have to react and respond to what everyone else is doing in the game. So the way you play it and the way it's a 6-hour game a lot of the time, but the way you have to play and compete it changes. You have to adapt, you have to evolve. And
is there breaks in between? Do they have an intermission?
No, it's one solid play session.
Solid 6-hour vlog.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
What do these people eat or drink during that time?
I don't know, with difficulty.
Mountain Dew.
What if they need a bio break?
They hide in a.
Grab your bag.
They literally build a little stone hut. They hide in this hut.
You need a takeaway of your biological functions while you're gaming in that tournament.
So I've got a catheter with me.
Yeah, real life biological functions.
Yeah. So basically you just end up building a hut, hiding in the hut, and hoping no one finds you and breaks into your hut in the time that you're on your bio break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was actually finding those things kind of interesting to watch, because you could fast forward through it. I mean, it's a long-ass stream, but it was interesting to see that kind of adaptive gameplay going on while playing, whereas, I don't know, it's...
You know what could fix some of the current problems a tiny bit in Robocraft? Team Deathmatch, I don't really understand why they only have one map.
Because that format is brand new.
Okay. I was just going to say they could take like the pieces they have in that map, like the assets, right, and they can just kind of spread them out in a completely different way. That way, at least you can build a bot a certain way, but you can't guarantee that bot will be great on every single map, right? You can have certain maps that prefer distance. You have certain maps, whatever. So then that alone causes you to build your bot in such a way that you will have to generalize it a little bit. You can't just know that the arena is going to look like this and know that for sure that I'm going to build a gun on a stick and I'm going to try to get to this corner of the map right there, right? And I know mentally exactly where I'm going to be that whole
Fusion tower has
match,
been captured.
which is very unentertaining for everybody else because, you know, you're a tiny little stick in the sky and you're just, you know, shooting at people and because you're really much higher than max altitude and no one else can get it that high.
And I'm the one picking you off, trying to, and finally get you.
Yeah.
After I died like 5 times from it.
Well, okay, that's a little bit our own fault. I know, yeah, I know you and me, Sharp, we would probably try to take out that person because we find them annoying, and we will fail probably 20 times before we give up.
Your bottom fusion tower has been
But
captured.
if you didn't know what map you're getting thrown into,
Your top
you'll be
fusion
much
tower
more
is
cautious
under
with your
attack.
build to not build it specifically because you know something exists on a certain map.
And that's
Right.
what I guess that's another thing I actually like about even with the older team deathmatch format where it was literally one life per person. Or actually, it's one of the reasons why I really like Battle Arena is because each map is different. There are different play styles you have to use for them, and it means you do have to have your robot has to have more capabilities. It has to be able to do several things. It has to be able to fight. It has to be able to capture towers. You're actually designing around certain constraints that the game is providing for you, while
Yeah,
also
it's
taking into account that at some point you're going to encounter ice, at some point you're going to encounter other hazards that you just have to deal with.
right, and like essentially the bot where it's basically just a bunch of Healy blocks and a big gun underneath it. Everyone hates that bot in Battle Arena because that guy floats right up to the top of the fusion tower and they sit there, and the whole team kind of talks bad about that person because they're basically not really contributing to the team otherwise.
Your plutonium reactor is under
Whereas in
attack.
Team Deathmatch, everyone's fine with that because that's completely viable, right? But it's such a boring bot for people to both observe, look at, and to fight against too, because it's, you know, if you do happen to have the right bot to kind of counter that one trick, then that bot is useless and that person ends up disconnecting, which is also super annoying because, you know, we could at least stay for the whole match.
Your plutonium reactor is under attack.
Would you like to add anything, Sharp?
I don't know. I mean, it.
Your plutonium
I'm not,
reactor is
like-
under attack.
So is the only reason you're not super into it is essentially there just feels like this huge grind
Your
before you can
plutonium
actually get into
reactor
it?
is under attack.
Yeah, like I'm playing it right now, and it just feels like I don't know. It just feels like every time I'm trying to shoot something or whatever, I get like wrecked.
Plutonium reactor is under
Although I'm
attack.
not. I gotta say though, I haven't been doing too bad with these last 2 matches I've done, and which is
Okay.
surprising. But it's just like I don't know. There's some bots that just feel like almost impenetrable, but that's probably because it's their design. But I feel like some of them have weapons that just eat you up, which I mean is fine. But then like I'm like trying to shoot them and get my weapons to even blast them, and they're like doing more damage than I am.
Yeah, there's some weapons to which there are literally no counter. So you've got things like the iron cannons, like the high versions of those. The only counter is being distance. You get close, they hit you, you're dead. Because that first hit is going to cripple you. You're still going to have some weapons you can fire back, but the chance of you actually being able to take them out or evade because they've already taken around out half of your movement, at that point you're already dead. That first hit.
The ion cannon is like the shotgun thing that you're talking about?
Yeah,
The ion disruptor?
yeah.
Okay, so I've had a chance to experience like the more powerful weapons. I have been given 2 ion disruptors in inboxes, and then I was given the legendary chain gun thing. And so what surprised me about that is a legendary chain gun. If I remember correctly, it's only worth about 300 CPU, a little bit more than 300 CPU. I feel like that's far too low for basically a weapon where if you manage to, you know, get really close to them, you just obliterate them as long as you have energy. You just see blocks fly off of them because as long as they're within your cone of fire limit. And then the same with the ion cannons. The ion cannons, you know, I just run up to a person with the ion cannon with the dual shotgun on either side, and my robot's relatively fast, and 4 shots essentially, and usually they're completely gone by that point because it does crazy amounts of damage. So I have experienced what it's what it's like on the other side when you actually, you know, are gifted essentially with these legendary things, and then you stick them on your robot. You didn't even do anything with your design because you just like glued them onto an existing robot with duct tape and, and utilize them, and you didn't design your bot around the weapon system. Yet you did pretty well.
Like that's my little box bot that I've got right now. My little one that's based off a camera. It's pretty much got 2 railguns on top, and that's all I use in it. I can
Doing really well.
I can take people apart. Especially if they're flying, you just aim for their rudders or wherever they're at, and you can do some damage to them.
The railguns used to be the de facto weapon for the flying bots. They used to be the counters essentially.
Well, if you can snipe them like I've been doing, I mean, I can take them down pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. So that I think, but they've introduced like essentially. I think now the better weapon for dealing with flyers would probably be the lock-on missile launcher and the flak, of course. The flak is specifically designed for that.
Yeah.
Personally, I still think one of the best weapons. Yeah, I'm actually not doing platoons or platooning up. I'm literally just playing while talking to these guys about their feedback on the game. And if anyone does want to join in the chat, then they're more than welcome to. Just how do I? I've got to paste the information somewhere here. Let me see if I can pull the channel information. What is it? Copy that button and let's paste it in here. Hopefully you can see this on the stream and you'll be able to join in. There you go.
On a positive note, though, they are still the only game that's trying to do this, so you have to commend them for that.
I mean, I'm not knocking them. I mean, what they're doing is good, but I think they're new and they're growing, and that's the thing with new games. And a lot of people don't give them like
they have a
time of day.
They do have a pretty difficult task. The other games that are like this, where you get to build stuff, you know, you're not competing with other people's builds, which is kind of like directly competing with other people's builds. You have survival games, but you're more or less competing with the environment more than you are with other people. But yeah, these guys have a challenge in that people can build whatever they want, and they have to make sure it's balanced, and you're also competing directly against other players and are trying to build something better than you.
Can't escape PSKs. No.
A PSK.
I think that the Plasma Leviathans, the mega version of Plasma, are very OP now. They're really strong.
I agree with you, GeeleiiA. Last time you said that PSKs are pretty OP at the lower ranks. They do feel extremely OP, and I think it just they turn too much. Like, I understand that it's supposed to give you a bit of guidance when you shoot, but it should just be like an assist. But it basically takes over your aim for you.
It's a noob SMG with crazy damage.
But but that's the thing though, right? Like the SMG, the downside to the SMG was always that there was so much bloom. So you only get perfect accuracy with the first, 5 shots or so, and then you're at a bloom level where you basically are forced to close the distance if you want to actually get full damage, or you can't focus your shots in like any one spot, or you're just not that accurate essentially. But the PSKs don't feel that way. The PSKs, you're basically effectively accurate for the entire distance of that weapon before it finally loses range.
And it actually don't, like, the damage don't drop.
Yeah, the damage doesn't drop top until it ends, right?
Yeah, until the range it makes max damage.
I feel like the PSKs, I might be wrong about this, but I feel like the PSKs are even more damaging to electroplates.
Yes,
they are.
have a
That's
bonus of
intentionally.
2 times.
Okay, because they just tear off any robot that has electroplate on them. It's crazy.
Shit.
They could try to do probably a few fixes with mechanics. Do you feel like it would be better if we have a PSK where when you start firing, it actually has full bloom, so full in accuracy, and then as you start firing, as you hold it down, it actually gets more and more accurate with the seeking. So
See,
right at the beginning, it's not accurate at all, but then it gets more and more accurate the longer you're on target.
See, I was in favour, because there were some discussions of making the PSK into like an energy leech type weapon. I was actually in favour of that, keep it very low damage, but the other effect would be that it would be leeching or reducing the enemy's energy pool, and that was mentioned and it was discussed, and it was like, okay, that was seemed to be the way they were wanting to try and go, and
I
then
definitely
suddenly,
like that better.
yeah. I mean, I want to see more status effect type weapons. I want to see things, you know, the sticky bombs, or, you know, things like, you know, if you probably haven't experienced an EMP blast, which you've got the EMP orbital strike type thing, which can basically cripple a vehicle for a few seconds, like 4 seconds, and then you're back up and running. But I mean, you get more than enough warning to dodge out the way, but I like those kinds of things. Those are actually interesting mechanics.
I don't find the EMP overpowered. I think the EMP is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I actually really like it.
Yes.
I think
I
it's
agree too.
I think it's a good addition. I never feel like you weren't given enough warning. You definitely have way more than enough warning. It's also I like it because it does break stalemate. When people decide to camp in a little corner and you're doing TDM, it forces them to find another corner, essentially. So it's a useful weapon. It's definitely a useful weapon. I can see that it's useful.
And natively, it doesn't actually do any damage, which is pretty neat.
But usually the team does lose a few people right after the blast because they get caught in it, and then there's a volley of plasma heading right for them, and they can't move. So
Yeah.
it has a utility function, but I think the trick to that is because none of the modes in Robocraft are individual. Well, actually, no. Maybe there is a mode that's individual deathmatch. I haven't actually played that one, but
No, not anymore.
Okay.
So wait a minute, you've got a pit mode, which is like all the all.
Is,
the pit. Okay, fine.
like free for all.
Okay.
The
so
problem
the
is
pit-
there's an issue with the pit where you basically you kill someone, you suicide, because no, literally that's what you do, because there's no down point to suiciding, and it means the people don't get the bonus for killing you on a kill streak. It's stupid. It's the most retarded thing I've seen.
Isn't the point of the pit to be the last person to survive?
Yeah, but no, it's the point of the pit is not to be the last person to survive, it's got to be the person with the most points. And the thing is, the way you get points is you kill people. Now, if you're on a killing streak, if someone kills you, they get all of those points that you've earned, whereas if you kill someone and you suicide, they don't get those points, you keep them.
So the strategy is you kill someone and then you try to kill yourself.
Yes, you kill someone, you suicide, you kill someone, you suicide.
Okay, well that probably needs to be fixed. That's definitely unintentional.
Yeah, but it's been like that for almost a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so the other game modes that none of them have, none of them basically have, they're all team modes, right? And that's why I like that, like the EMP ability. I just think they probably should have more of those utility abilities that aren't direct buffs, but basically you buff your team.
Yeah.
You're never going to be the one that's going to be able to strike that damage, but it encourages people to, you know, stop doing stuff that is very solo on those modes of the gameplay, because that's not the point. I mean, I look back at really great games.
Okay, just a quick one. Wendy Tron, you got to show your face on camera.
I am not showing my face on camera.
No, you're showing your face on camera. There you go.
This is what women do for beauty.
What is this? I'm married to a troll.
Oh, that's rude.
Oh,
That's
I'm not
rude.
watching this stream, I have no clue.
I bet she's beautiful, but I'm not in.
She's got a face mask
either.
on at the moment.
Oh, okay. So she's hidden behind all of her beauty.
What's up?
Dress, you pinned me in.
Oh, okay. Alright, you guys continue talking for a minute or two, because I've actually got I basically had to sew her into a dress this morning, so I've got to undo that, because she can't get out. So, and she wants to get into pajamas, you know how they are.
Yup.
Alright.
Damn women.
It should be 6 seconds.
Yeah, I like when I look at really great team games, one of the common things that traits that they do is they require you to cooperate with your by basically limiting what you can do alone. And
Yeah.
so I'm thinking about things like, Team Fortress 2, which is still around today.
Look at Counter Strike.
Yeah, I mean, so you want to that's and I think that in those games the buffs like the medics buff and whatever they don't really help the medics by themselves. They don't give them anything.
Yeah.
You're actually giving a benefit to someone else. So it's encouraging kind of this cooperative gameplay. And I think Robocraft could probably benefit from that because most of the modes in Robocraft, as far as I can tell, they're team modes.
Yeah. And I mean, like, they need a team buff or like something, maybe a buff or maybe like a bonus.
Yeah, like what? How about like an energy buff where like one of the bots literally just has an energy core and they can give energy to other people.
Or like a shield buff or something.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of about the opposite of the shield buff. So the shield buff is
Or like something like Harden that gives 2 times health for the bot.
Yeah. Like, I mean, anything really. It doesn't.
or maybe they can be an area spotter where basically, they have these radars that show them on the map, but maybe they can also highlight automatically people within a radius of them if they're not running jammers and stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
me being the engineer and liking playing with deployable items and stuff like that, I still want the ability to be able to put down mines or turrets and stuff like that. So I would really like to be able to put down deployables and things like that because that's just fun.
Do they have a? I don't know if this isn't even is in the game. Do they have like a capture the flag mode?
No.
Because a capture the flag mode or a domination mode or whatever would be amazing in this game because, especially with deployables, you could put turrets up, you'd get walls that you could lay down or something like that, and then it'd make a whole different gameplay, and people would be making specific bots for like if you were gonna go take down the turret, so you're gonna have tons of armor and stuff like that, so you're gonna be the person that plows in while these guys flank or do this stuff, you know?
Meanwhile, in PlanetSide, they basically added in PlanetSide tower defense.
Exactly.
They've added in PlanetSide tower defense. Unfortunately, the mistake they made there is it's much more incompatible for a game like PlanetSide than for a game like Robocraft.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see it really works for a game like Robocraft if they actually added essentially what PlanetSide construction system is into Robocraft 100% because that's what the game's about anyways.
It's about building, yeah.
Yeah, in PlanetSide, it's a little odd because they add that in and then they put really giant circles where you're not allowed to build near bases where fights normally would break out.
Yeah, it's stupid.
So it's like, oh, you can build, but please don't build where the fights are going to be normally. Please, like, just go into the middle of nowhere and build your thing. Right?
Please let the kids have their fun.
Yeah,
Don't disrupt it with your base that's going to destroy everybody.
Right.
See, the thing with that is I'm actually wondering, we're kind of getting off topic on Robocraft here. I'm wondering what direction Daybreak are actually going with that because they're adding in basically all the same features you can get from a base. And they're coming up pretty soon. So is there a eventual goal that maybe they're gonna remove some more of those bases and give more area for players to actually build? Because that would be cool. But then for that, I would want more permanence as well. I wouldn't want the base to be reset every single game.
You would have to have more permanence, but then I would worry a little bit because, unfortunately, that game is much more FPS. Than an actual building game, which means that they're the thing that they have to worry about the most is to have fair fights, and unfortunately player bases aren't going to be inherently built with a weakness of any sorts, right? Like they're going to be incentivized to not build with weakness, so it could be really frustrating to assault bases, and they have to be careful when they're actually designing that to make sure that they don't go down that camp either. But I think that would be a fantastic addition if on a continent, you instead of having right now where you have 20 or so bases on a continent, maybe they only give each side like 2 bases, maybe 3 bases, and then the rest is all player bases in between.
Yeah, make the bases have cuts, maybe have some structures and stuff that give it some form of strategic value, but the rest of that just leave it up to the players to actually sort it out.
Guys, you realize we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Yes, we're off.
But it's about building stuff. So
yeah, no, I know.
But I
So
guess you can
overall-
apply a similar thing to to Robocraft. I mean, in the match itself, building sort of doesn't matter. You kind of it's like a weird divided mode where it's like you go build your bot, then you bring it to the match, and then the building part doesn't really matter at that point. They're kind of primed to take advantage of it. Maybe you can build really small things, or you can bring a small buildable that you made into the match with you.
And to be honest, that's actually something I've never really thought about before, but you're actually really, really right in the whole, you know, when I first started playing Robocraft, there's another game that was kind of in development called Terratech. It's actually a lot further on than it was, which was kind of the same thing, but more single player, but you would be building your robot with the things that you were finding. And in the early version, in the early versions of Robocraft, there was an MMO aspect, a more persistent aspect, but that kind of got sidelined because of the basically what happened with the popularity of what there was. So they kind of canned that whole concept, which I'm actually a little bit sad by, because I think that would still be pretty compelling gameplay.
Wasn't Terratech in the Steam Workshop or in Steam?
Yeah, there is. You can get it. It's actually a good game.
Yeah, it's fun. I remember I played the open beta or alpha or whatever, and it was interesting. It was still in development, but I enjoyed that. It's open world, and you could go fight up against other people too, and it was really interesting. It's a different gameplay. So if you like Robocraft,
yeah, the only thing with
worth a shot.
Terratech is there wasn't actually an open world. At least the last time I played it, you literally in a world on your own.
Oh,
So
okay,
you-
yeah, maybe that was it.
Yeah, you'd be building your base, you'd be building your little vehicles and some stuff you can automate, but it was more you were building that stuff yourself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I haven't touched that for a long, long time.
Yeah, I haven't touched it in a while either, so it's hard telling what they may have come up with already.
So, really, Vortex, from your perspective, what would Robocraft need to actually fix to get you to play a game?
You know,
Even-
to be honest, when they took away, like all the different weapons and all the different ranks and levels, they really obscured the ranking system. So probably one of the simplest fixes they can do, like somewhat quickly, although I don't know how effective it's going to be, is they probably should take a look at their matchmaking algorithm. I know it's probably one of the most difficult things to do because anyone can build anything, but that would go a long ways towards not immediate frustration for players that are kind of trying to come in and, you know, have a good time initially when they don't have a lot of stuff. But in terms of like for players that have been here for a while, what they would do, I guess, like I'm not too sure. I in the past I was given, you know, I kind of gave myself a goal. Oh, build this kind of bot with this kind of stuff because I can plan what stuff I was given. But because I don't know that now, I kind of just, oh, I give this part. Let's see what I can kind of do to make it useful. I mean, I guess I would like kind of more variation in the map, so that you had to put more thought into how you would build your robot in a general sense to account for all these different things, and then you always are given more new scenarios because the map has enough variation that with the combination of other bots are in there, that creates the content for you, essentially. And I guess the other thing is I you know, for all the game modes that they have that are team-based, I would kind of like them to emphasize that a little bit more. So I think that might have a positive effect to the community as a whole, and in general kind of reduce the seal clubbing, just because when you start getting the community into an attitude where people are actually, you know, helping each other out on the team, you get less of this kind of individualistic, oh, I'm just going to build a bot and be cheap on a lower ranked match behavior, right? People would be like, well, that's not as rewarding as, you know, helping my awesome team because, you know, I have this bot that has all these buffs for them and stuff like that. I could be I might be a little bit optimistic about the best parts of human nature, and I do know that the internet will quickly teach you that people sometimes aren't that way. They like being
What do you mean? What? There's trolls on the internet? Oh my god.
Oh,
But I mean, I feel like that's how you cultivate your community, right? Like, so when your community, when your game like really um, tries to encourage you to have these like positive behaviors, social behaviors with other people, I'm kind of imagining that will also have a knock-on effect, and that the community in general will be kind of more positive to like kind of social involvement and community building and stuff like that, rather than kind of the anti of that, which is I care about my stats. I don't care about your bot because it matters not to me. That's how I'm going to proceed about it. Right.
Okay, so Sharp, what would make the game, because I guess you kind of still play, less frustrating for you?
Maybe more maps and maybe like the turnover of parts a little better, and maybe like give noobs a little bit of a nicer chance. I don't know, like playing the same map over and over again, and the team deathmatch kind of gets boring. Like, it's like, okay, give me something new, guys. Give me something where everybody doesn't know where it is. Like, maybe give the community a chance to build the custom maps with the map editor and allow that in the workshop. Let the Steam Workshop flow more, so people can look at bots during their lunch breaks and stuff around their phones instead of having it in game. Like, allow the community to get more involved. I like mods.
You know what? That's an awesome idea. Like a community submitted block map. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. We get away from the current aesthetic where the world.
And thanks for watching, Hiroko. So, all right, carry on. I'm just responding to the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying. So maybe like the community submitted kind of maps that are block based. I know it's a little bit infeasible because I'm sure the engine can't handle it. I know that it's a little bit different than having a static mesh that they have right now, but that could go a long way towards having just an endless content stream for players to play in, essentially, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is the thing that bothers me about a lot of games, is a lot of these big game companies, AAA companies, little game companies, they're getting more of the idea of it. They don't have mods, and they don't have the communities. They don't want the community to be a part of it. Like Battlefield 1942 used to be able to mod the crap out of that, and it was fun. It was a blast. You try to do that with like Battlefield 4 or any of those things, you're banned pretty much, because that's not how you're supposed to do it. But like going back to the old years of like Counter-Strike and Unreal Tournament, you had huge, like, super communities of people coming together, helping make maps, trying this, doing that, making suggestions on how we could change this, improve this, and do that. And it was awesome. Like, you felt so involved and part of it, and it made that game stronger. That's why those games are so powerful and played today still. And you don't get that a lot anymore, and it's kind of frustrating. I mean, you get your Call of Duty gamers. Like, it's sad. Like, you don't have that sense of self and the sense of being with everybody. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole thing.
I'm actually surprised player-made maps aren't a thing, because you're right that really does fit in with the culture of Robocraft.
Yeah,
I mean, in some ways, I think Robocraft on that end has suffered from the idea of going with the beautiful type maps that you see in the ice maps and stuff like that, basing it on planets and stuff like that in the universe that we know. And I think in some ways they may have actually been better off with replacing that with more of a block form type thing. It would look a little bit different.
They could definitely
but
have
you could...
like, big set pieces. Like, obviously the reactor will still be just as it is designed right there, right?
Well, like their slopes and stuff they have, and their rounds and their tubes and stuff. You could use those as walls and static
you
meshes
just make
and
those
it
as
awesome.
you just make those into giant things.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't have to be like a crazy editor. It could be, okay guys, here's your set textures and some props we give you and stuff, go to town, and now they're getting community making tons of maps. Or they open it completely up and let the community make rat maps, where you are pretty much your robots, but you're in these big rooms that look like your house or something, so you're playing in somebody's bathroom or their kitchen or something, there's fire traps and stuff like that. Just to have fun. Like, that should be the key element, is the fun and the gameplay. And I think a lot of game companies get away from that. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just preaching to a choir that's just what I think should happen, or maybe that's what we need to go toward. But that's my 2 cents on like what I think needs to happen to get people more involved and for a game to grow.
Can I revise my answer?
Yep.
I like Sharp's answers better. It's no, you know what it is. It's
Mic drop. What? No, I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, it's like I think ultimately the problem isn't really that I'm frustrated. It's more like I've ran out of content to interest me, and so essentially what can bring you back with most games, it's basically just to have additional content, whether that content be other players or
I mean, you can only
or-
make so many dick figure ships before you get bored. I mean,
yeah,
that's how
exactly.
it works.
Exactly. But essentially, if there were a ton of maps because community was submitting them, yeah, there would always be something more interesting to see all the time, and maybe you would come back just to see that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there was maps, man, I could see the community being like, oh my god, this is our favorite
I'd
map.
build a map.
Yeah, exactly. I would. You'd vote, and then you could all vote for it, and then like you go up and like you'd have like maybe a map of the month or something. So someone's map makes it, and now like everybody's getting excited. Oh, did you try this map? Oh, this one's cool. What if we did this? And now you're
Right, and they
causing
have-
innovation and creativity
and-
while
and-
having it so the robots advance with that to fit different map styles.
And I'm sure Free Jam like has the stats on it, so they can also look at, oh, does one side always win on these maps or whatever. So they can collect those stats. So eventually they can start promoting, okay, these maps are fair because the
Yeah.
matches are relatively balanced, which side ends up winning. And they can look at other stats and say, well, everyone has voted this map up, they enjoy it, and we're going to promote that. So if you're not like the kind of person that is willing to look at the unrated maps, then you don't have to. You can look at the ones that already are well known to be good maps in the community wise, and then or you can say, just put me on some random map. I don't really care if it's completely unbalanced because someone's still experimenting with the experimental concept, because I like to see that kind of crazy stuff.
And of course,
Yeah,
for
that's
tournament play, you could have literally, you just stick with the free jam created, the absolutely balanced maps
Yeah.
or whatever's been approved by them for that.
But
and
I
then,
guess the other thing that I like about that is because a lot of these games do fully learn from the user-generated modded content and stuff like that. Counter-Strike didn't exist as a game, right? It was a mod.
Yeah, it was a mod. It started
Yeah.
out as my
Exactly.
1.6.
Fortress 2 was a mod, but also the
Team
map design
Fortress
from these-
itself was a mod.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Team Fortress itself originally was a mod, but also the best maps from those two mods, again, weren't the at least in version 1 of those mods weren't actually the maps. Like I think 2.4 was basically not a standard map; it was kind of added in later.
Dust, man, or like facing from Unreal Tournament.
Oh, Facing Worlds?
Yeah.
Facing Worlds I think was an original map. If I don't.
Yeah, but
don't
I mean, like that was fun. Oh yeah, you're right. It was original one map, but that was
Yeah.
fun, and there was tons of variations.
But-
that came from it.
But Aztec, I like the Aztec map. Aztec was not an original map. That was a community map, and then they brought it into the original map set.
Yeah, I mean, like they have their modding competitions where the gamers will come up and make those,
Yeah,
and you get some cool ones. Like the community comes up with some crazy ideas, and there's backstory behind it, and it helps feed the lore.
So yeah, I'm almost 16 minutes into a battle arena match, and if I'd have 5-10 minutes, I would have already had 3 crates. And
Right.
now I'm this game where we've got an advantage, but we might finish it within the next 4 minutes. We might not, but with the
so you're
time
gonna
I
have
just
one
spent in
extra
here,
block. You're gonna have one extra block to show for that extra time.
yeah, 50 at least 50% more extra time.
Yeah.
And it's not going to even be better quality. It's just going to be, because I've earned that much more score or anything like that, it's just going to be an extra block.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another thing is like
Oh, they've resigned. Okay, so the game's over, but either way.
the team deathmatch really doesn't show this game off that well. I just they become very one-sided very quickly, and it just doesn't paint the game the best light. I think the battle arena is painted in a much better kind of light,
So, people that haven't really spoken much in here, so we've got GeeleiiA, if you're here, do you have any thoughts on what would make the game more interesting for you as it is?
I think now they're adding too much noob or user-friendly guns. I think more skill-based guns would be really good for the game.
Okay. No, that's I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have much.
No.
Hey,
The
any opinions better than nothing.
yeah, the user-friendly or
Yeah.
the easy-to-use guns. The stupid thing is, you have to have been playing the game for quite a while just to be able to get the resources to buy the damn things.
True.
Yeah.
You either get very lucky on a loot drop, or you have to literally sell a week's worth of earnings just to be able to buy one.
And it's funny that the rocket launcher is a user-friendly, but it's legendary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's user friendly, and you basically don't get it until you get several hundred drops, maybe.
There
Which
should be like
means-
a new one that's super like easy to use.
Which means starting out as a user, you experience getting destroyed by a rocket launcher and you give up because you're just like, I can't fight this.
Yeah.
So, anyway. I'm actually going to call it for this part of the stream. So, I mean, we've been going for like an hour and 15 minutes on this. Thank you very much for everyone that's been talking and contributed. So, shout outs for Vortex for your comments, Sharpshot and GeeleiiA. And Ninnaman, who's been kind of silently in the channel just listening. Anyway, so thank you for this. I think it's been interesting from my perspective, and we'll see you all around. And don't forget to subscribe.
Bye, guys.
Yep,
Bye.
Vortex also has a channel on Twitch somewhere where he sometimes streams. It's Vortex05 or something like that. I'll link it in the information. I'll link it below the YouTube video so people can find it.
Mostly if you want to look at a different perspective when Drofleck is streaming.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I might be back in a little bit. Are you guys wanting to play something? Because I'm kind of done with Robocraft for the day. I've literally just been running around in some of my crappy bots.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna go spend time with my wife, but
Okay.
I
I'm
might.
not
We'll
doing
see.
anything.
But
At this point, I'm not doing anything, so yeah, sure.
Yeah, any particular preference on game?
I don't know.
War Thunder.
War Thunder, yeah. Alright, I'm going to be
Running
back.
for- Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be back streaming War Thunder in probably about 10-15 minutes. So I need to take a quick break and stuff, and we'll be there. Alright, so thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to subscribe, then, you know, honestly, fuck off. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.